Congress has been working on a series of bipartisan IRS structural reform bills. Now, these bills actually change the way that the IRS operates, but there are some real-world impacts on normal taxpayers. What are they? Well, we have the answers with Rachel Pappy. She's partner and vice president of Polston Tax Resolution and Accounting. We've been hearing about these changes. What are some of the few reforms that Congress are looking to see changed?
Yeah. So we have often talked about what a disorganized mess it is to deal with the IRS and how the left hand often doesn't know what the right hand is doing. There have been talks about dissolving the IRS altogether, demolishing it, doing away with it, changing to a flat tax or a fair tax. I always get asked, what will happen to your business if those types of things happen? And my response always is, you need some type of agency to collect taxes. And so I think that's where some of these reforms came from, is legislators looking at, do we destroy the IRS? And after digging in, realizing we just need to fix some of these things that are occurring within the IRS or the perimeters of the IRS, because even if we got rid of it, we would start some new agency that would do the exact same thing.
You know that there will be. And somebody somewhere is going to benefit from it no matter what. The government's not going to let, oh, well, just let money go away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, right now sales tax is a flat tax, but it's not all getting collected. It's not all getting paid. So some of the reforms they're looking at are more taxpayer rights, or taxpayer first is one of the bills, to provide more customer service to taxpayers. I'm curious to see this being implemented. Right now, if we call the IRS, even if I were to call the IRS, we're on hold for 45 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, and the IRS right now has something called the courtesy hang-up, which we've talked about before, which is if you wait on hold too long, the IRS hangs up on you. So things like that, where they're trying to reform or improve their customer service. I deal with the IRS all the time. I would love to see that, and I think one way that's going to happen is likely they're going to hire more people. They've been having their budget slashed over the years, which has resulted in less and less employees, but they're going to likely hire more people, push enforcement collecting on taxes that are due. They're also looking at improving the volunteer income tax assistance program. They're creating an independent appeals arm, which they sort of already have, but they're creating the legislation has another independent appeals arm. They are improving cyber security and their information technology. As we just saw, the whole system crashed on tax filing day. So there's a number of reforms in this legislation, but the thing I was most excited about, and Polston Tax was most excited about, is that it was a bipartisan, both sides of the aisle coming together to say, we need this to happen at the IRS.
Explain why that was such a big deal.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of divisive legislation this last year. But on this one, especially I think on the taxpayer first, it was a unanimous vote that Democrats and all the Republicans voted together. There were 0 nay votes to the legislation, and everyone said this change has to happen, which was a great show of unity, that everyone agreed taxpayer rights are important to Congress.
You know, and you need somebody that's going to be able to walk you through it now. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, obviously. So are we seeing more where the Joe taxpayer is actually really going to start to see some of these changes if they continue going the way they are?
Yeah. We are curious to see how it's really going to get implemented. So one thing we see right now, as they have turnover at the IRS, the new people that come in aren't trained well. And so we hear our clients say this all the time. I called the IRS on this day, and I called the IRS on this day, and I got 2 completely different answers. From, you know, you could have one IRS agent in Detroit and one IRS agent in New York, and they might say, you might be asking them the exact same question and getting 2 completely different answers about where to send things or what the taxpayer needs to do. I don't foresee that changing much. You know, you have managers all over the country who are supposed to be applying the law uniformly, even hiring more people. I don't know that that there's the systemic change that they need. And there just are so many problems. I do see it getting better. One thing we would like to see is less intimidation power from the IRS, and maybe more legislation on when a attorney is working with the IRS, for example, or a CPA or an IRS enrolled agent, for there to be an understanding that this is more efficient for the government. We already know what you need. We already know the law. You don't need to intimidate us. I mean, frankly, they don't, and the process works very efficiently.
And keeping those conduits like your company as active as possible, obviously less questions will be asked because you already have pretty much like a clearinghouse, I guess, to be able to go to the IRS. So great ideas. Polston Tax Resolution and Accounting, they have 5 locations in Oklahoma City, Edmond, Norman, Tulsa, and Wichita. You can call them at 405-801-2146. They also assist clients nationwide. There's several ways to get a hold of in contact with Polston Tax Resolution and Accounting. You look for Polston Tax on all social media. Their website is polstontax.com.